Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us for the Alumni Webcast. I'm Zach Lehman. I'm the headmaster here at the Hill School. I think you mostly know that. We're glad you're here tonight. We're expecting over 50 people, and they're starting to join now. So we're going to get started, and I'm going to make a presentation to begin, and then we'll take Q&A at the end. But as we're going, if you want to ask a question, please use the Q&A box, which is located in the bottom middle of your screen. If you roll over that bottom section of your screen, you'll see a Q&A box. You can ask a question. That's only visible to me, so I will try to answer those anonymously unless you encourage me to use your name. There's another way to ask questions tonight, and that's by raising your hand. On the participant panel, you can raise your hand, and I'll try to get to some of those questions. And I actually will unmute you and you can ask your question live. A little bit of excitement here during the Alumni Webcast. So thanks for joining us again, and we'll get started. So first of all, I want you to, you've obviously seen my email. That's how you got to this webcast to begin with. We have closed campus indefinitely and in all likelihood through the end of the spring trimester. But in many ways, the school is still very much open. We have begun our Virtual Hill remote online learning program this week. We're 3 days in, it's going very well. I'll talk about that in a bit. And we're also doing a lot of the community things that we always do at the Hill School, and we'll talk about that as well. And it was about a day like this today on campus, beautiful day here in Pottstown. Tonight, I want to go over a number of things. I want to share with you our timeline that we made this decision to close campus. I'll tell you a little bit more about what it means for campus to be closed. I'll explain Virtual Hill. Hopefully you're interested in hearing how we're continuing to educate our students and continue our community. I'll talk about commencement. I'll talk about ways for alumni to stay engaged during this time. I'll talk a little bit about how we're maintaining our core values here at the school. And I will certainly spend some time explaining our strategy for long-term strength for the school. Been here 169 years, expect to be here at least another 169 years. How we're helping our local community and how you can help as well if you'd like. And then we'll get to questions and discussion. So I think we'll spend about 15 to 20 minutes going through this, and then I will certainly answer your questions at the end. So here we go. So first of all, the decision timeline. We started evaluating the impact of COVID-19 and the coronavirus as early as the beginning of January. Our medical director, Kristen Spencer, Dr. Spencer is a full-time ER doctor who's on campus for us, married to alumnus Jay Spencer, who's a math teacher here. Excuse me. And she's been advising us this whole time. We've had a COVID-19 response team in place, looking at this weekly at first, and then it became more daily and at some points hourly. Our first big challenge was our winter long weekend at the end of January, beginning of February, where we had to make a decision as to how we were going to have all of our students leave and come back, knowing that some of them were going to places overseas and wanting to make sure that everyone was healthy and well. So that was our first checkpoint. We did a health survey, an exit and reentry survey. We got through that without much, any events really. Our next big checkpoint was our planning for our international trips over spring break. We had 2 trips, one going to South Africa, a choral music program going to South Africa, and of course our classics trip, which has been in existence for well over 25 years, was headed to Italy. We took both of those trips separately, but in the end, canceled both of them. We're quite glad we did. In the end, it was a good decision for us, and our families were very supportive of that. Our next checkpoint was spring break. We actually sent all of our students home on spring break, but we had to decide right before that about our domestic spring break trips, primarily for athletics. We had 4. We had a crew trip going to Texas. We had a lacrosse trip, boys lacrosse trip going to Florida, a baseball trip going to Florida, and a girls lacrosse trip going to Virginia. The crew trip went out to Texas before things really got bad in the United States. We did pull them back a couple days early, brought them home maybe 2 or 3 days before they were supposed to come home. The other 3 trips did not go out. Again, our families, while disappointed, they certainly understood that decision. We then were sort of operating under the understanding that we may have to extend spring break. And then the state of Pennsylvania, Governor Wolf, class of 1967, issued a closure of all non-life sustaining businesses, which included schools. At first, he closed schools just for 2 weeks. He later extended that. That caused us to close campus and to announce an extension of spring break by 1 week. And then we would start Virtual Hill. At the time, we thought Virtual Hill would go for at least 2 weeks. And we have obviously since extended that. Shortly thereafter, Governor Wolf started doing stay-at-home orders for different counties. Montgomery County was among the first 6 counties to be issued that order. Once that came in, plus the school closures, plus the non-life sustaining order, it just became very clear that we really couldn't operate on campus. And that's when we made the announcement to our students first, and then to our alumni that we were going to be closing our campus in all likelihood through the end of the spring term, and that we would be extending our Virtual Hill program through that until we returned to campus, which was again likely to be till the end of the spring term. Excuse me. A few days later, we announced to our alumni, we shared the Virtual Hill announcement, as well as the announcement that we were reimagining our various alumni events, including reunion. So that was the timeline. We tried to be very cautious, and one step at a time. We tried to keep our options open as long as we could. But in the end, the decisions by the state of Pennsylvania, as well as our peer schools and what we were learning about the public health outbreak and ways to support public health, made it pretty obvious that we had to close the school and take other actions. So that's how we got where we were, or where we are. What does campus closure mean at a place like Hill? First of all, we do have, all of our employees are working mostly from home. We do have a small portion of our 225 employees who are coming to work on a regular basis, who we consider critical employees. These are some facilities employees, some campus security, and the like. But all of us are doing our best to work from home, especially our faculty, our teaching faculty, who are delivering Virtual Hill to our 525 students. We did place some restrictions on our residential employees, primarily our faculty who live on campus, but we also have some staff living on campus. We are following strict physical distancing requirements. We've taken precautions with things like our mail. We closed down our dining hall, even for employee dining. We've tried to limit visitors on campus, either short-term or long-term. We've really shut down all facilities, including our gym and athletic center. So that's been challenging for our residential employees, but they certainly understand the rationale behind that. We've also been ordered to pause all campus construction. We have a number of large projects going on, most significantly the Shirley Quadrivium Center. We've also been doing some significant work on the upper school retaining wall. Both of those projects are on hold right now. We have petitioned, the state of Pennsylvania has allowed all organizations to petition for an exemption from the construction rule, and we're trying that. We're hoping to get permission to start those projects up again at some point. We have limited facilities use. Our faculty and staff who are on campus can certainly wander around campus, maintaining physical distancing. Our far fields are open for residential employees only, and that's been giving everyone a little bit of exercise, as well as just walking around campus and on the quad. We did just this past week, after analyzing our financials, we did make a commitment to all employees, whether they are able to work from home or not, or coming to campus, that we will continue full pay, full benefits through June 30th at the very least. That's the end of our fiscal year. Obviously, that was something we really wanted to do. We view our employees as a part of the Hill family, and we were grateful to the Board of Trustees for helping us figure out how to do that at such an early time. And when there's a lot of anxiety and uncertainty in our community. So that was well received. I will say that throughout this whole thing, our medical team, our wellness team, led by Dr. Spencer, has been fantastic. Now that we've had all students leave campus, they've turned their attention to supporting our adult community in terms of our residential employees or otherwise, and trying to help those families stay healthy on campus and answer questions as well. So it's been quite a luxury to have Dr. Spencer and her team here on campus for all of our employees at this point. So Virtual Hill, this, as I mentioned before, began on Monday. We had a week-long training where we were able to get our faculty to sort of do this paradigm shift. Many of our faculty already used a lot of technology, already used a lot of the platforms that we're using in Virtual Hill, but it was new territory for some. I'm really proud of our faculty for shifting gears so quickly. They were able to get this program up and running in a very short period of time, most of them cutting their spring break short to make this happen, especially our senior leadership team, our academic dean, Dean Katie Hudak, our Dean of Faculty, Liz Dolhoff, Associate Headmaster Len Miller, and our Dean of Students, Ari Baum, and Director of Residential Life, John Jenikis. Did just a marvelous job pulling this all together, as well as the teaching faculty. So there's really three components to Virtual Hill. The first is synchronous learning. These words, synchronous and asynchronous, are being thrown around quite a bit in our world these days. Synchronous learning is live classes. We are doing about, I would say about 10 to 15% of our classes are being done live. We have the challenge of multiple time zones for our students, both in the United States and abroad. So we have not been relying on synchronous learning as much. We're also concerned about the bandwidth. Some of our families don't have the bandwidth at home, and we're, with everyone at home working and studying from home now, we just wanted to be cautious as we went into that. So each class meets at least once per week live. The rest of the classes are done through asynchronous learning, where faculty are posting videos, either of them teaching or of some other aspect, assignments, notes, class notes, things like that. And then there are deadlines for students to submit assessments or homework. But these both work together. Our faculty are also making themselves available live, not with a synchronous class, but through live office hours, through one-on-one advisor meetings, one-on-one college counselor meetings. Our clinical counseling staff is meeting with students one-on-one, and all of that is going quite well. We are continuing some of the things that we think make Hill so special, primarily around our community learning programs. Things like chapel talks. I just gave our first chapel talk on Sunday night. So students are watching that. We're having twice a week advisory meetings. We have once a week meetings with our form. And then we have twice a week meeting with our dorm hall. So we're maintaining those small, tight-knit groups that make living and learning at Hill so special. In addition to that, we're continuing some of our well-being programs, our wellness programs. I mentioned our counseling and college counseling programs as well. We are, in some ways, continuing our co-curricular programming. We are doing a virtual play this spring, so our theater students are able to do that. Our athletic teams are staying together. Our coaches are sending out workout plans, skills and drills, videos. All of our students are expected to stay active and exercise on a regular basis, and our teams are staying together from a community standpoint as well. So while that part is not perfect, it's the hand we've been dealt, and I think we're doing quite well with it. I would say that compared to our peer schools, at least the way I feel about this, we are focusing as much on community as we are with the academic program, and that is a differentiator for us. We feel we're going to be able to deliver quite well. Our teachers are very excited about this and energized. And in fact, we think there's something to be learned from this when we do come back, whether it's later this spring or in the fall. Just all we're learning from technology and ways to engage students and different ways of assessing students and the like. If you watched my video or read my remarks to the students, the one thing I did promise our students was our sixth formers was a on-campus commencement. In all likelihood, we'll have a virtual commencement in May, and then we will find a time, whether it's in the summer or perhaps as late as Lawrenceville weekend in the fall, which is home this year. We'll schedule an on-campus commencement and hope to have some of the other events that go along with it, including, of course, the famous Dell Jump as seen here. I think that was especially reassuring to our students and our families who have been looking forward to this special rite of passage for Hill students for so long. So I think that was well received as well. So we do hope to maintain alumni engagement through this process. In fact, we hope it will get even stronger. As with this event tonight, we're trying to do a lot of events in the coming weeks and months. We have canceled our regional alumni events, but we've replaced them in part with the Tom Ruth speaker series. This is a normal speaker series that we have on campus, but we're now opening it to our general public. They're Tuesday and Thursday nights from 7 to 8 p.m. We started last night with a terrific speaker, Tom McCarter, Dr. Tom McCarter, who's an alumnus of the school and a pandemic planning specialist. It was really interesting to hear from him. Hopefully you were able to join in. And we have another one tomorrow night and for the foreseeable future. You can check that out on our website and register to join that. We had about 90 people on last night, which was terrific. In the next month or so, you'll be hearing about Graduate. This is a new app for our alumni. It's a way for our alumni to stay in touch and to get contact information and to network. It's more robust than our previous app, and we'll start rolling that out over the coming weeks and months. I think yesterday our Whatsoever Things alumni newsletter went out by email. You should all be getting that. If you're not getting that, please let us know. We'll be happy to forward that to you. We're very active with our social media, and our classes and our class agents are also, our alumni volunteers are trying to stay very active as well. I saw that Wallace Gundy had a sort of a mini online reunion earlier this week. We just encourage you, if you're posting something on social media, to use the hashtag HillTies, and hopefully that will get the word out to all of our alumni, and we'll do the same. We have decided to postpone reunion, which was planned for early June. We just are not comfortable planning for that at that early date in June. While we hope we'll be back at some point this spring, it was just too much to commit to at this point. So we are changing how we're doing reunions, and our reunion leaders are engaged in that conversation. There's a number of different ideas, including some of the fall events that we have planned, which I'll get to in a few minutes, but also perhaps pushing off reunion for this year to the following year, where the zeros and the ones and the fives and sixes could have a joint reunion together a year later. So hopefully, if you're a reunioning class or an alumnus, that you've gotten some information about that already, and we'll be getting more to you in the coming few days, I hope. These are the some fall events that are on the calendar right now. And again, we'll be inviting our alumni to participate in all of these, and perhaps even incorporating their reunion in them. The first is the 100th anniversary celebration. It's been 100 years since the Meggs family transferred their private ownership of the Hill School to the Board of Trustees and turned it into a nonprofit school. The original celebration of that moment was held at the Waldorf Astoria. It was a white tie event in New York City. We're going to be doing it here on campus in our dining hall. There'll be a lot of great opportunities for alumni to visit classes and go to athletic practices or events and see the school in action, and also connect with other alumni and faculty and students. That's at the end of September. If all goes according to plan, we'll be opening and dedicating the Shirley Quadrivium Center, our new home for STEM here at the Hill, which is a total renovation of the Widener Arts and Crafts building and the Widener Science building, plus the new Link building in between them, which you see here in the rendering. We're about 75% done with that project. I mentioned it's on hold right now, but we hope to get back to that fairly soon. We did give ourselves a bit of a buffer over the summer, so even if we're delayed a bit more, we should be okay, certainly for the October 19th dedication. And then last but not least is Lawrenceville weekend, scheduled for November 6th and 7th. It is the, let's see, the 133rd meeting of the fifth oldest high school rivalry in the country. It's here at Hill. Last year we won the inaugural Meg's Green Cup, and we hope to do that again. So we invite all alumni to join us for that, including the Red Meat Dinner and the Hill Sports Hall of Fame, Hill Athletics Hall of Fame. As we move through this challenging time, we've been very focused on what are our core values. First and foremost, we want to continue delivering an exceptional educational experience to our students. We feel that we're doing that through Virtual Hill, and it has also remained very student focused. We put our students' health and well-being first and foremost, but also their education and their emotional state right now. And I think if you were to, obviously our students are sad about this decision, but they also understand it. And I think they feel that they're being well supported by the school in all capacities. We've also remained very community oriented, as I mentioned before, but that's not just within the Hill student and faculty community, but also with Pottstown and the local region. I'll talk about that in a minute. And we're also trying to be fiscally responsible. This is obviously a major hit to the finances of all organizations and businesses, and we're thinking about that. We're trying to be thoughtful as we move through this time. As it pertains to that, we're taking a lot of proactive measures to ensure that Hill is sustained during the COVID-19 pandemic and beyond. It just so happens that this campus closure coincided with the busiest time of our year with respect to enrollment and re-enrollment. Today was our re-enrollment deadline for our students. I'm happy to report that we have I think it's over 85% of our re-enrollment contracts are in today. That's a pretty typical number. We often are still waiting for some re-enrollment contracts beyond this point. So we're really pleased that our families have that much confidence in us and for their students to plan to return. Obviously, there's a lot of anxiety around what the world is going to look like in the fall, but we're excited to see such strength in numbers among our returning students. It's also right in the heart of admission season. We admitted our students on March 10th, and that was right around the time that we were closing campus. And then we've continued with the admission process from March 10th through April 10th, which is the deadline for students deciding. We're in great shape right now. Students are still choosing Hill. They're securing their spot here. They're engaged. They're excited about Hill. We've had 8 record years of enrollment. And I think we're hopeful that we'll be in the same place next year, but we're not taking it for granted. Since we can't have revisit days, we have created a lot of virtual experiences. We had a live stream. We had several webinars. We've had tons of call-ins. Our admissions team and program directors and coaches and faculty have been actively reaching out to students and responding to their questions. So we're excited over the next 9 days. We'll hopefully be able to announce that we are full again on April 10th. If you're a family that's considering that, I hope you'll make that decision, and I hope you'll encourage your friends and colleagues and family members who have applied to Hill to do the same. I've mentioned Virtual Hill, but it's so important that we deliver a high quality experience for our students that will help us with our re-enrollment and confidence among our families that should something like this happen again in the not too distant future, that we're prepared to shift gears if we need to. The best way we're going to get through this is by having strong faculty and staff. We've got an incredible team here on both sides of that, and we're committed to keeping them here and keeping them strong, and they've done a fantastic job in response. So that's a huge part of our long-term goal. Our endowment, which is managed by a committee of our Board of Trustees and some outside members as well, are committed to retaining the strength of the endowment. After the 2008 financial crisis, our Board of Trustees and our investment committee took some very aggressive measures to make sure that the endowment could ride through these kinds of difficult, choppy waters. We have a rainy day fund. We have much more diversity in our investment strategy. And so while I'm sure our endowment is down a little bit right now, like all of our investments are, we're confident that it will return and that we can continue to draw on the endowment to support the school as needed. Fundraising is obviously a major part of our annual operating budget. Our Hill Fund, for example, accounts for about 10% of our annual budget. Our goal this year was 3.45 million. We are closing in, I think, on 3.1 million in gifts and pledges. And so we will continue to focus on fundraising strong through the end of the year. And we appreciate those of you who've already made gifts or pledges, and I hope that you'll continue to do that. It's a good investment in the school, and it's now more important than ever. We will get back to our campus projects. We may have to defer some of the projects that were planned for this summer, just because if we can't get the supply chain, or if we can't get the manpower to do those projects, we may have to delay them. But we do intend to finish the major ones, especially the quadrivium. We've now started to turn the page and start to plan for the fall, and evaluating a variety of contingencies related to things like enrollment, program modifications, how we might have to shift gears with seated meals or with chapel, large gatherings, athletics. We do think that we may have to make some changes just to make sure our community stays healthy and well. But we also think a lot of that will come at the national and international level as people start adjusting and making a variety of changes, including in our attitude and understanding of COVID-19 and the dangers that it poses. Some alumni have asked me, why we couldn't just sort of close the gates of campus and keep everyone safe here on campus. In addition to that not being allowed by state law at this point, by the governor's orders, we are not a self-contained community. We have 20% of our students are day students who live in a number of different areas around Pottstown, within an hour of Pottstown. We have over 100 staff who don't live on campus, who come and go. We have lots of visitors to campus. And we also, even among our students and faculty and staff, we have high-risk students with underlying conditions. And we have adults with underlying conditions and who are over 60 or 65. So it's really difficult to do that, even if we were allowed to. So I just want to mention that. But we will be probably making some changes and taking Dr. Spencer's advice and guidance in the fall, and we're starting to plan for that now. I mentioned that we are committed to supporting our community outside of the campus as well. One of the things that's really brought incredible joy to me over the last week or so is our international families and alumni have come together without us even asking to donate personal protective equipment, not only for our campus and our employees, but for local hospitals and first responders. We've been opening packages on a daily basis for the last few days. We're expecting close to 50,000 protective masks coming to campus in the next few days. So it was really heartwarming for our families to reach out to us and to provide those, not just for Hill, but for the local community. Hobart's Run, which is our neighborhood initiative here in Pottstown, has also stepped up. They're doing their best to support local businesses and advertise those businesses that remain open, and encouraging members of the community to support those businesses through this difficult time. We've also established, Hobart's Run has established a COVID-19 support fund. If you go to the Hobart's Run website, you can access that, and you can direct your gift either to employees of the Hill who have been impacted by COVID-19. You can direct it to some of our subcontracted employees, like our dining hall and cleaning teams who don't work directly for the Hill, some of which have had to go on unemployment, some of whom, have had to go on unemployment. Or you can support our neighborhood initiatives and supporting local residents and businesses who are going through difficult times as well. We've been delivering pizza and other food to Pottstown Hospital to support the healthcare workers. Just like everywhere else, they're working around the clock to keep our communities safe and healthy, and we think it's sort of the least we can do. We've been partnered with Little Italy's. Some of you will remember Little Italy's right across the street from the campus. Their owners have been incredibly philanthropic through this whole process, not only helping the hospital, but feeding the public school students with the schools shut down through lunch and breakfast even. And then lastly, I just mentioned briefly, we are taking some special steps to prepare our campus in the event that we're called upon to support some of the local initiatives around healthcare workers, perhaps the National Guard. So we are making some of our spaces available or making sure that they're ready in the event that the governor or someone else calls us. We think we're an upstanding member of our community, and we will do what is asked of us to support the cause. So that's ongoing as well. So with that, I'm going to turn to questions. It looks like we've already got a few, and I will go to those questions. Again, if you have a question, you can do it one of two ways. You can either ask a question in the Q&A box, or you can raise your hand. Can someone raise their hand to make sure that that's working? I won't call on you, but if someone raises their hand, great, terrific. So you know how to use it. I'm going to lower your hands now, which is great. So if you really do have a question now, feel free to raise your hand. So I'm going to start with the first question, and it comes from an alumnus, who obviously an alumnus. Will our new associate headmaster still be arriving on schedule? Has she or will she be participating in planning and execution of Virtual Hill? So shortly before all this began, we announced to our alumni community and obviously to our school community the hiring of Dr. Sylvia Rodriguez Vargas, who joins us from Atlanta. She is still, should be joining us on schedule. She's at her own school, the Atlanta Girls School, dealing with some of the same issues. But we have been involving her in some of the discussions around Virtual Hill and the contingency planning. So we're looking forward to welcoming Sylvia to campus. She should be here in July, so that will be terrific. Thanks for your question. Are you starting to see an impact to acceptances for the 2021 academic year? If so, please elaborate on impact and how the Hill is responding. I assume I talked about this a little bit. Thank you for your question. We are seeing an impact. I actually think it's a positive impact. First of all, families are making their decisions more quickly. Typically, between March 10th and April 10th, families take a lot of time. They visit the different campuses through the Revisit Day program, and they make their decision later towards April 10th. We have seen a very fast response from our families. We're ahead of where we were at this point last year on April 1st of 2019, quite significantly in some categories. We still have a ways to go. We've enrolled about 60%. We've had enrollments of about 60% of the students that we were anticipating. So we still need to enroll about 40% more, the other 40% of our admitted students. I would say we're also seeing, interestingly, an increase in international students year to date, by far pretty significant. I think that most of our international students, especially those from Asia, have been dealing with COVID-19 for several months longer than we have. They've been doing virtual schooling, and they are very excited to get back to normal schooling and are securing their spaces here at the Hill. There's still a lot of work to be done, and there's still a lot of uncertainty in the world regarding finance and tuition, financial aid, and those sorts of things, but we do think we'll be able to enroll a full class. Perhaps not on April 10th as we've done for the last 4 or 5 years. And so but we have a strong wait list, over 80 students on our wait list, I think. And we're actually getting some new applications on a fairly regular basis at this point. I think there are students who are in day schools or maybe in public schools that are not satisfied with the delivery of the virtual program that their school systems are doing. And they're looking for all their alternatives. So we are seeing a steady trickle of new applicants or late applicants into this as well. Still don't have any hands raised, so feel free to do that. So I have an alumnus question. First, is that a coronavirus beard, Zach? No, it's not like that. I've had the beard pretty much all year, so I'm keeping it trim. I have been shaving on a regular basis, even though maybe we don't have to. We're all on a lot of virtual calls these days, so I'm trying to stay clean shaven. This alumnus also says, thanks for the updates, keeping us all informed. I'm disappointed that our reunion has been postponed or canceled. We will miss everyone. Not to worry, it hasn't been canceled, it's been postponed, and we will look forward to welcoming you to campus in the not too distant future. From another alum, in the past, I've argued that Hill should expand its scope by offering virtual courses for non-students. Is there any chance that now that the school is learning virtual methods that it might continue to demonstrate leadership by offering courses to others? That's a great question. I think we're learning a lot about virtual education. It's only been 3 days. I don't want to jump the gun and say that we're going to broaden that. But I think if we're able to do a good job of this, we'll have some new ideas, not only how to deliver our program to our current students, but more remote students as well. But for now, our goal is to make sure that our current student body is really well supported. So thanks for that question. I do have a hand up. Let's see here if I can make this work. And there we are. Jim, is that you?
It's me, Zach. How are you?
Good. This is Jim Alexandre, class of 1975, also our board vice chair. I swear to goodness, I have not asked him to give me a softball question. So I'm hoping for a tough question here, Jim.
Well, I just want to say I was relieved by the social distancing when you coughed into your sleeve there early in the presentation.
Doing my best. Doing my best. Yeah, a lot of hypochondriac out here.
One of the things that surprises me is that we're going way beyond what you would normally think of in terms of virtual learning, because we're seeing this with other schools that they're pretty strict, that it's related to the classes and the courses, and they've got to really work hard just to have their teachers be online, and tuned into doing that. And we've taken this a step farther, and I just wonder if you could make some comments on how that idea came about and how you're implementing that.
Sure. Well, the moment we decided that we were going to go virtual, I was adamant, and I think we all were, that just teaching courses or providing homework or graduating our students on time or moving to the next grade was not enough. That wouldn't be enough if they were here. It certainly isn't enough if they're not here. And we heard immediately from our students that what was most important to them was staying connected to each other, to their teachers, to the small groups that they already interact with at school, whether it's their teams or their halls or their advisories or their lunch tables, their college counselor. And so we made a commitment. In fact, we sort of divided our senior leadership team and asked about half of them to work on the academic program and half of them to work on the non-academic and community program. And I just think that's been very natural for our team. And we're glad, in some ways, that this happened so late in the year when all of those relationships already existed and our students were ready and able to continue connecting that way. It would have been much different if this was in October or September when those groups hadn't been already formed. One of my favorite emails that I got right after we sent out the announcement of extending Virtual Hill through the end of the year, in all likelihood, was from a parent of a new third former who told me her son was out in the yard banging a golf club against the ground and screaming and yelling. He was so upset. And she just wanted me to know that that's the impact that the Hill had on her son. He was so excited to come back to Hill and so disappointed that he couldn't. And she was just grateful for making the school and the community important in her son's life, and in such a short period of time. It was his first year at Hill.
Am I allowed to ask one more question?
Yeah, sure, please. You're the only one with their hand up, Jim.
Has Lady Gaga changed her plans at all with regard to visiting the Hill School area in light of Montgomery County's hotspot classification during the COVID-19 crisis?
Well, you just spoiled the surprise, Jim.
Well,
Nobody knows that Lady Gaga. That's actually 2 years off. So we are, I can't really give the details, but we're doing a special performance at the Center for the Arts that has a tangential connection to Lady Gaga, and we're told that she will make an appearance. So you will be the first to know, Jim. And I hope certainly 2 years from now, we won't be in this situation.
Please tell our listeners not to share that with anybody.
Yeah, please don't share that with anybody. I'm going to get in trouble for even mentioning it. So you can buy I'll let you know where to buy your tickets. Anything else from you, Jim, tonight? I guess Jim's gone.
No, I've been ordered to go, that my dinner is on fire on the grill, and I've been ordered to immediately go attend to that.
All right. Thanks, Jim. All right. We have a new question here. So on the virtual classes, either live or taped, students will in essence receive grades for their assignments, just like real classes. And if they do not watch these classes, they obviously do not get good grades, etc. Thanks for that question. It's not a few things. First of all, our academic council, which is all of our department chairs, met at the end of last week and decided that all spring term will be pass-fail. This is a decision that most schools have made. It doesn't mean that they will get a grade of pass or fail for the year. Most of our classes are year-long courses. It just means that their grades will be pretty much locked in to where they were at the end of the winter trimester. If they do really well, they can move that grade up a little bit by the end of the year, which would have been about what they could have moved up anyway. And we don't expect any of our students to fail. We are keeping track of student attendance, and we are keeping track of completion of the assignments, completion of assessments. We have invested in technology so that our students have to abide by the honor code, which is obviously a point of importance here at the Hill School. So we've got that for sure. Let's see. Another question. Please elaborate on the new STEM facility. I've forgotten its name. So the new facility is the Shirley Quadrivium Center, named for lead donor John Shirley, an alumnus of the school and the first president of Microsoft out in Seattle. John, along with a number of alumni and parents and other friends of the school, have supported this project to the tune of about $19 million. We are taking the old Widener buildings, the Arts and Crafts building and the Science building, and we're connecting them with a new, larger, deeper building in between. We're calling it the Link building. And this will house all of our science programs, our technology and computer science programs, our first class engineering program, our math classes. We have a new emerging technologies program, and also our digital and visual communications program are all going to be in the building. It's about 45,000 square feet, give or take. We're cleaning up the exterior of the old beautiful Widener buildings, and the new building is meant to be a little bit more modern, but also reflect the character of those beautiful buildings right here next to my office and next to the dining hall. So thanks for that question. It's definitely a huge draw for the school, both in terms of the program and the new building. So we do hope that we'll be back on track pretty soon and open that up. If anyone else wants to raise their hand, please do that now. I think we've hit most of the questions. I have a question here. Any interesting faculty stories to tell from the first 3 days of virtual learning? Well, I can tell you that our faculty are having fun with it, especially things like our advisory meetings and our live sessions. I've seen some great pictures of advisories doing dress up day, doing a funny hat day and things like that. I think our students are happy to be out of dress code and a little more relaxed, have their dog or cat at their feet in class. We've had some interesting interruptions, when a younger sibling walks into the room or something like that, but nothing that you haven't seen in all of your Zoom calls that you've been on as well. We've had, I think our faculty are finding this, I wouldn't say exhausting, but this is hard work, moving from, the rhythm that they're normally in to a totally different experience. And they're not only just shifting their existing curriculum to an online version, they really are changing both the content and the pedagogy and the curriculum. And I think that's a major challenge. And so I think they're experiencing growth, and we're looking forward to, as I mentioned before, leveraging that as we move forward beyond this spring. I don't have any other questions, so I'm going to wait here for a second to see if we get any other questions. While I'm doing that, I'm going to advance the slide here. If you're interested in learning more about some of the things I talked to you about tonight, you can go to our website. If you go to justthehill.org, the first thing you'll see is a pop-up screen, which will direct you to most of these pages. The first is the Choose Hill webpage. And I notice I have an extra capital I down there at the end there, but if you just type in thehill.org/Choose Hill, that will take you to our site for our newly admitted students. There's a lot of cool stuff there, though. There's recordings of our live stream and lots of videos that we've posted, some FAQs for our students, campus tour, and that sort of thing. So if you just want to learn more about Hill and Hill admissions, or you want to share that with interested students or maybe late applicants, feel free to do that as well. We also have the virtual Hill subpage of our website where you can go to get more information on our curriculum for the spring. Virtual Hill, we've talked about that quite a bit tonight. And if you want to know more about our response to COVID-19 or the different steps we're taking on campus, if you just type in thehill.org/COVID-19, it'll take you to a page with a lot of information there as well. I do have a couple more questions, and I'll take them, and then we'll wrap things up here. We're almost at the end of our hour. The first question is, are you satisfied with the technology that is available to you? Is Zoom satisfactory? What, if anything, do you lack or wish worked better? So we are using a lot of Zoom. We're getting good at it. Our students are figuring out the different settings and the virtual backgrounds, things that you can do like that. I can show you that if you're interested. Maybe you're not, but let's see here. This is actually sort of fun. So this is my virtual background here from the McNally room up in the library, the third floor of the library. We have a little bit more, we have some other ones here. You can do more of a corporate background, or you can have some fun. Go to San Francisco. You can go to the beach. You can put a video back there. In any event, you can have fun with those things. But I think Zoom is generally working pretty well for us. We haven't had any major issues with bandwidth on our end. Some of our students have some limited bandwidth or unstable bandwidth. Some of our international students who've returned home have had some challenges there, certainly with the synchronous types of things. We also use a platform called Canvas. That's our sort of our virtual classroom site where we post assignments and students turn things in. That has some other features as well. That's been going quite well for us. And so we're happy with that. We've stayed away mostly from the Google platform, mostly because it's difficult for some of our international students, especially in China, to access Google Pages or Google platform without a virtual private network. So we've stayed away from some of those platforms, not really using Skype either. I think we're using Microsoft Teams a little bit and SharePoint. So as far as I can tell, things are going pretty well. I would say some of the more hands-on classes are a bit more challenging. Things like our music classes, vocal music classes, our engineering class, things that require a lot of hands-on stuff. So we're looking at some virtual labs for our science programs. So I think in general, we're getting it done. The internet has not broken on us just yet. So a couple more comments here. Oh, thank you for having these webinars. My pleasure. I hope you'll join us tomorrow night for Tom Ruth, the second Tom Ruth web stream or webcast. We also have a parent. Some of our parents are doing a similar webcast on Friday night. Thanks for this event, Zach. Good wishes to you and the Lehmans for another great and virus-free day. Tip for coronavirus avoidance: drink my favorite Heineken. Thank you, Pete. And we will take care of that. So I don't have any other questions. If you'd like to email me afterwards, please do, zlehman@thehill.org. or as I mentioned, go to any of these websites. I hope you're all staying healthy and staying home. I know you're spread out all over the country, all around the world, and we do feel like we're going to get through this together, and we'll be stronger for it. So thanks for making the time for us tonight. Don't hesitate to reach out. Have a great evening.